Level 1 certification. If this is something that you've heard about, if this is something that you want to hear about, oh, and I know I went back old school. What's up, Nelly? I went back old school with it, y'all, with the whole divide the left room and the divide the right room. That's what it was missing, y'all. I was tired. I needed it in my life. I needed it, so I brought it back for y'all. And what's up, Roman? Welcome in, bro. Welcome in. Blue team level 1. If you can chat about this topic, feel free. What's up, Cyber Chris? This is going to be a good one. What's up, Vivian? We have Cyber Chris. He's from the UK, but we also have our special guest from the UK as well. Tech Dens will be in the building to chat with us. I talked to him a little earlier. The vibes are good. Life is good. Let's see who's requesting up. Who is this? Who is this? Vinny. Vinny, hold on, Vinny. Hold on, Vinny. You want to give me one moment? Let me get you up here, bro. Feel free to request up if you want to come chat with us. You'll have the opportunity to chat with Tech Dens. He is a wealth of knowledge, everyone. He has the sauce, and he can break it down, break things down for us in a way that we can, uh, dissect or even digest is what I was trying to pull out. Digest, because if you can explain things in a way that is digestible by a business brain, then you're winning. If you can take technical jargon, cybersecurity, language, translate it into business, vernacular, nomenclature, logic, you're winning. Pat yourself on the back if you can do that. Pat yourself on the back if you're practicing that. If this is something that you strive to do, you intentionally do, you make it a purpose to be able to break concepts down to folks that do not understand that may not understand the full depth of the security, networking, IT terminology that you're speaking about. It's a skill, and the sooner that you master that skill, the sooner you will find that jobs, roles, opportunities, and different things will come up for you. So we are streaming live on YouTube. We are streaming live on YouTube, everyone. This is a TikTok focus. We're focused on TikTok. We're letting folks come up and chat and talk. We want to load these boxes up. So if you've never been in this live before, if you are emerging in this space, hop over there on the left-hand side and ask questions, be inquisitive, learn. That means you are either new to your role or new to cybersecurity within the space, new to IT, new to networking, or maybe you just started a degree. Maybe you just started that very first certification. Maybe, just maybe, you're studying for the Blue Team Level 1 cert that we're going to talk about today. And you need some tips, you need some tricks. Well, guess what? We got a special guest coming through that's going to chat with us and give us the insiders. What are the pro tips, the cons? Why does this cert separate? How does this cert separate itself from the Security Plus that you're studying for? Should you continue to study for the Security Plus or stop studying for the Security Plus? Or should you just not test for the Security Plus and take this study for this certification, for the Security Plus certification, and then go to the Blue Team Level 1? I think it all depends on where your goals are. But we're going to learn more about that. We're going to learn more about that today. Today's the day. So let me see if I can get some folks up here. Feel free to request up. Hey, today's the day. So let me see if I can get some folks up here. Feel free to request up. Yo, yo. Blue team level one stack up against other hands-on certs. Yeah, that's what we want to know. That's what we want to know. We have Tech Dens in the building. We have Apple user in the building. I'm gonna welcome you up as well, Apple user. What's up, Tech Dens? How you doing?
Yeah, what's going on, bro? You okay? Yeah, what's going on, bro? You okay?
Yeah, man. You know what it is, man. I had to swap you over there to the right hand side because you're established, bro. I can't have that need to be on the right hand side.
Nah, it's so good, bro. It's so good, so good, so good, so good, so good. Thanks for having me. Anyway, yeah, I don't even know what I'm gonna talk about. To be honest, I'm just gonna go off on top what's on top of my head and some
Yeah.
my experiences with obviously it's not more or less blue team as I would say, so I don't want people to have the assumption that I'm a blue team expert, but I'll more or less be describing what it's like to be a blue teamer from my own personal experience. And I'm not just obviously not going to speak about, well, I'll touch on a few topics about what accreditations have worked for me, what certifications haven't, what certifications I think are BS, and just get straight to the point, no filler, and just let's get busy, man. And yeah,
That's
man,
what I'm saying, man. Straight to the point. We don't need to play around with it because today we know that over 250,000 people in the U.S. alone have the Security Plus certification. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry, go.
I was going to lead into this space where, folks are now still thinking, I need to go get my Security Plus. And they're jumping on the Security Plus bandwagon. Is that still a good idea from your perspective, especially as it pertains to this Blue Team Level 1 certification?
Yeah, sure. So I think, hi everyone, thanks for joining from wherever part of the world you're from and whatever. I don't know if you can tell from my little broken accent, but I'm definitely not American. But I am British, as you can hear with my little British accent. But in a nutshell, really, from what I've discovered, I mean, from obviously I've been in, let's say, we'll say tech work for the past 15 years or so. So first line all the way to whatever role you can think of within tech. So I've picked up some certifications, some that are obsolete, like the MCCAs and so on and so forth over the years and over the past couple of years. And gradually, most of my roles have integrated into, when you work for an MSP or MSSP, your role is tailored from first line all the way to infrastructure. You're doing this side support, and then obviously you're having to create group policies, security policies, and learning about that type of stuff. So eventually you're actually doing security. So even when you're doing password resets, within Active Directory, that is also a security implementation that you're implying. If you're deploying or enrolling a user, and that you're enrolling MFA on the particular device, that is security. That's security hygiene in itself. Creating a strong password, that is security hygiene in itself. So the sort of team structure for me started from, I think, but now for hang on a minute, I'm getting a bit bored here with like doing creating, setting up laptops and all that. And like, let me focus on more on security. So when the exposure and when the opportunity did come arise, I was in a permanent role at the time, and I thought, what's the best way to fast track my career and be in a position where I can without hindering myself in a way. So like I was in a catch-22, so I decided to become a consultant slash contractor where I decided to work for myself. For those people that don't know, so basically what that entails is that you're pretty much work for an agency, and then that agency puts you up to another company that requires medium to short time work, so 2 months, 3 months, a year, depending on the projects and whatever. Now, with that being said, that put me in a position where I had exposure to different tech stacks. So there's some organizations that have got a large turnover, and I've got limited funds when it comes to the technology stack, and there's some businesses that outsource their IT, so you're having to speak to third-party IT, companies and whatever. Now, from that, whilst I was picking up with different milestones, in terms of obviously the growth and the career growth in itself, the when I was looking at complex investigations, in terms of obviously looking at okay, how does a frontline tier one work? Okay, then okay, how does the backup tier two work? And obviously the specialists, like the hunters, the incident responders, and the alert tunneling and stuff like that. So I found at the time there was this sort of I think he's a cyber lead now, this law firm that I work for, and he was teaching me about obviously how to monitor new, obviously sort of new alerts, how new alerts came in, checking previous alerts using all sense, such as virus store, and trying to determine what's a false positive and a true positive. So at that particular time, he's like, listen, I was like, how do I get hands-on experiences? So have you got Security Plus? Have you got Network Plus? And I was like, what's the difference between getting hands-on experience and having accreditation or having a degree or having a degree in cyber, right? And one of the top things that actually opened my horizon was like, it's easier for somebody to transition when you've got hands-on exposure. The rest the rest of hands-on experience comes as you're learning on the road, because it's like you can't predict a breach of when a business is gonna be compromised, or when there's indication of compromise within a business or something like that, right? So gradually I started, he started giving me like, some sort of, labs, like, okay, try and, he'll give me like a PCAP. So a PCAP is like a Wireshark file format where you actually look at you can actually look at, logs, networking logs of exactly what's happened, in a particular either system or whatever. And then you come back to me and said, okay, can you tell me what, what sort of, traffic you analyze, from that. And then eventually, as the cybersecurity language, the vernacular became more understanding in my, because I'm transitioning now from like service desk all the way into like, okay, yeah, this is how incident response works. Because I use the transition as, obviously, you have your ITMS system. You may have, like, let's say Jira, ServiceNow, Hornbill, and you have your thread, ticketing come through, whatever. And then from there, I'll determine whether I learned the difference between what a false positive was and what a true positive is. Now, for those that don't know the difference, well, the difference is quite simple, right? Basically, what a false positive is like, it's a real threat. Obviously, for instance, you have a malicious PowerShell that's detected, right? Obviously, there's a script. Obviously, let's say, for instance, the script runs every night at 2 a.m. It's a legit IT process. Let's say, for instance, for backup reasons or whatever, obviously the indicators are not malicious. So, for instance, the course of action for that will be document, and then obviously suggest the best handling for that. But then if it's a true positive, then which means it's a true threat. So you have to escalate that immediately, and then obviously that will be pretty much a suspicious login, maybe from a foreign IP address, or which is in a range that's not within your domain. So, for instance, a user logged in from Russia at 3 a.m. The user confirmed they're not traveling, obviously, and then we've seen multiple attempts before that. Obviously, we'll think, okay, these credentials have been compromised, and from there, the course of action will be to escalate, disable the account, and then obviously investigate from there. So gradually, as I picked on those skills, being in service desk, and then gradually I was able to like obviously document that, and then my service desk manager at the time said, listen, you're wasting your talent here being in service desk. You might as well just migrate over to, doing a bit of projects within within the InfoSec team. And I was grateful enough, due to the fact that not a lot of organizations, let's say, for instance, a manager will allow you to do more than 2 roles at the same time, if that makes sense, due to the fact that, for cost reasons and, that type of stuff. So, and then obviously from there, it also deepened my understanding, like I had to I had to swallow my pride so much, because I thought, I'm just collect as many certifications or accreditations. I thought, yes, when I get the Security Plus, it's going to teach me everything. I'm going to be job ready. But I kid you not, right? That literally G-checked me so hard, right? I had imposter syndrome. I thought I wasn't good enough, because I thought, right, I'm going to do the Security Plus, and then I'll be seeing 6 or 7 figures. And eventually, it told me to the point of where, like, okay, I had to, rule 101, I got to how to understand the fundamentals, because I had to understand networking, like the difference between IP addressing, like the difference between, /24 and, /26, understanding the common network ports, for HTTP, RDP, SMBs, and DNS, the difference between understanding the different network protocols, you have, SMTP, SFTP, DSCP, ARPs, and stuff like that. And then obviously understanding, like, that's just understanding the basic networks. And obviously, when you have in most corporate environments, they do run Windows. So how, what sort of, command prompts would you be using? Would you be using a task list? Do you know how to use, NetStat? Do you know how to use, netstart, hyperconfig, dir, how do you look at Windows event logs, how do you look at, important event log IDs, such as, successful loggings. A failed logging will have, an event ID of, 4625, of which is a failed logging, and then if it's successful, you have a 4624. So looking at Windows, basic registry and, some of the stuff that comes in within, that type of stuff. So yeah, I hope that sums a bit, sums it down a little bit in terms of obviously having to obviously try to understand, the basics of, fundamentals. And obviously some of the other fundamentals are like, that exposed me to like, to go after accreditations I've got hands-on is due to the fact that you gotta understand, like I said, fundamentals, understand your Linux, understand your security, concepts, and like people say, yes, I want to get into cyber, but how can you get into cyber or do an accreditation when you don't know what you're defending? It's like for instance, right? You jump on anabolic steroids, but you just for the sake of just trying to get, as muscle as you can or as strong as you can, but what is your end goal? So it's like, what is the reason of you taking what you're doing? And then obviously you gotta have investigational skills. So for instance, let me touch upon, let's say for instance, your what do you call this? Let's say security concepts, right? For instance, right, you've got different frameworks. So for instance, you've got the CIA triad, you've got the MITRE attack framework, right? And I've been in interviews where I thought, yes, I've got it under control, this is what's going on. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, why would a SOC analyst refer to the MITRE framework? And then you're there scratching your head thinking, not even ChatGPT can save you at this point. So, and you gotta understand, like, okay, the cyber kill chain, like stages of attacks that attackers go through to be in a position to do that, like obviously common, like, and also understand common attack types. For instance, publishing malware, ransomware. At the moment, we're in an era where ransomware is at all-time high, malware is at all-time high. Back in the day, there were like viruses, like I remember the WannaCry, when the virus was like a big thing. Also, I was a bit younger then. So there's just all different elements. But I'm not knocking the fact that the security plus is BS. But for me, when you get into the real working world, they at least assume or expect you to like have some baseline understanding. Where you lack in knowledge gap, they'll give you the adequate training if they believe in your talent and believe in you. Said, you know what, this person just needs to brush up and do what you need to do. And yeah, I hope that
that brings us here. And we have some folks in the chat that's trying to figure out. We have an individual that has some IT skills and looking to be a SOC analyst. They're considering the security plus, but let's drive this blue team level 1 discussion. And someone also asked, are you going to take the level 2 certification?
The level 2, I've already done it. To be fair, I'm more or less need to finish it. I just obviously don't post as much content, whatever. But it's just due to the fact that I have to do that in my free time when I'm free and when I'm available, whatever. And I thought, you know what, let me just do the BTL because I already know how to do the labs and how to simulate most of the real work live environment in a live working environment. So to me, it was just second to none. And then obviously to answer the question where one individual did mention to say that they're trying to get into, is it trying to get into cyber or get into IT? Sorry, what did you say?
They already have some IT exposure and they're wanting to get to SOC analyst role.
Right. For me personally, what I would recommend is jump on cyber defenders, blue teaming, BTL level 1. And at the same time, the biggest secret I'll give anybody really that wants to be a SOC analyst, right? Look at the job description, right? If you see a job description that says, right, they will accept anything that's BTL level 1 or hack the box I think it's called CDSA, something. I can't remember the proper acronym for it. But if they say that they will accept that as a form of hands-on exposure and experience, that is great, because yes, it's great to one degree, but then also create your own personal labs that are tailored to what a SOC individual will be doing in a day-to-day task. Not just create the labs, but then also be able to articulate yourself and like speak the right vernacular to, let's say for instance, if me being a senior SOC lead, right, will be able to say, you know what, there's a bit of knowledge gap here, right? But at the same time, they're in the right space. Okay, they do understand the basics of Linux. Okay, they do understand how to look up at Linux, permissions. They understand investigational skills. Okay, they've got try hack me, SAL level 1, whatever you call it. But for me, the new CV in this day and era is your hands-on lab, right? And if you go get her portfolio, create that, but ensure that you know your stuff inside out. When it comes to knowledge transfer, like, for instance, you could be in IT and you're trying to transition over. You could have, let's say, you could have been I don't know, an IT manager or lead, or a manager in, I don't know, communications or customer service. You have got management skills. You've got management skills, and you're able to manage people. That's the most important thing. And the most important thing, I think, me and Sham, I was in a live with Sham where we're talking about the importance of communicating, having effective communication skills. Because believe me or not, you can be as clever as you want and as needy as you want to be. But at the end of the day, the one challenging thing that you're gonna have is, like, obviously being in a position to document what you found and make it not sound too cyberish. Because when it's too much cyberish and it sounds like jargon, no person is gonna be thinking, what the hell am I doing? Because now imagine you're trying to do an instant response to your stakeholders, or maybe your suppliers who are not very tech savvy. Maybe the tech person only works for them once a week, and then they're having to read your report and they're thinking, yeah, this is not worth our money. So I always try and say, like, have basic communicative skills. Just, don't be too clever that you don't sound human, if that makes sense. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm trying to say here? So I think, like I said, understand your basics, and understand your investigational skills. So I can break it down in, like, let's say 4 parts, right? So for instance, when you're reading your logs and using your SIM, right, obviously understand what a SIM is, right? And what does it stand for and what does it do, right? Common log sources, basic writing queries, right? So for instance, let's say if you're using, let's say, SPL, using Splunk, right, using KQL, which is, a querying language within Sentinel, right? And then obviously how to correlate event logs across, whether, the obviously have being able to, like, obviously connect, and obviously file access logs, and that type of stuff. Triaging alerts, understanding attacks, instant response basics, like, understand your, what do you call this, your IR, life cycle. So detect, containment, redact, and obviously having to recover that, and obviously being in a position to be able to prioritize, the criticality of that particular alert. It could be just a basic P3, or it could be a massive P1. Learn how to document properly and learn how to write properly as well, because that's the most important thing. So summarize timeline and recommendations. If the organization that you work in has got a playbook, so basically what I mean by a playbook, excuse me. So a playbook is, like, more or less like a KB, a knowledge base, right? That organization would follow, and or a process that they will follow to, like, eradicate that sort of containment. So yeah, I think I've just seen a message here from Phil. Since you're in the UK, is BTL common in job posting? It's not really here in the USA. Phil, yeah, to answer your question, the BTL, from when I've been to networking events and I've spoke to hiring managers, like CISOs and whatever, they just require somebody that knows what they're talking about, because it's not even a misconception. It's that cyber is not an entry role. I'm sorry to break it, but it is not an entry role. If you're looking for 6 figures or 5 figures, you have to do the odd dirty jobs from the bottom, work your way up, right? And then be in a position where, like, okay, you know what? I've got these 12 months. Because as soon as you land, my advice is, as soon as you land in a role in cyber, start looking for another role. Because what you will find is that eventually you only be in that role, let's say, for 6 months, because they'll give you a 6 month trial. And then after 6 months, it could be a situation where, if you pass your probation, they might extend you and then keep you on. But then at the same time, you want to absorb and learn as much as you can. And if you're really, really, really struggling to, pick up whatever, I'll say, get some mentorship. Like, look at where you're struggling. Are you struggling to maybe how to create, how to obviously log your tickets properly accordingly? Do you have the right support? Network around you within the organization. Is there anybody that that they can reach out to, and not documenting, not skipping the stage 1 of of how what it's like to actually be a SOC analyst, you see. So I hope that sort of yeah. Off topic, you do sound like Paddy Pimblett. No, I don't actually. I'm not a Scouser. Funny guy.
Keep trolling. Hey, so let's give folks some insights about this Blue Team Level One. What is involved with acquiring this cert? What all different? You don't have to go through the exhaustive list, but maybe some of the things that you found interesting as far as when studying and getting ready for this to pass the cert. What can you share with us that
Yeah, yeah,
give us
yeah,
some insights?
yeah, absolutely. So the BTL1 is actually an interesting one because it's got it comes under like I think it's got, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's got five domains. So there's publishing, there's threat intelligence, digital forensics, security information and event logging, and then obviously there's incident response. So out of all those, obviously you can do the actual exam. I think I can't remember how many questions the exams are. You can do the exam and just pass the whole certification, of which is straightforward. I passed it one or the other, just whatever. But then obviously the labs come in handy if you're obviously quite new to the game and you don't know what you're doing. But what I tend to find is it literally mirrors exactly like what working in that live environment is without fail. Obviously, I've never done any digital forensic, but it was actually quite refreshing to get there and be in a position like, okay, right, okay, this is how the DeFi side of things works. But then when it came to like the security information event log, obviously the SIEM and whatever. When I was doing those labs and putting in the queries and because it comes up with a bunch of tasks that you have to go through, and it literally more or less mirrors everything that what it's like to work within as a cyber analyst or a SOC analyst. Yeah.
Did you find that there were some challenging parts within the labs?
Yeah and no, to be honest. The fact that I've been exposed to that environment prior before that, so it just became second nature, if that makes sense. And some of the stuff was actually refreshing to see, due to the fact that yeah, I've done this before, so it became second nature. But I wouldn't. There's some stuff in there in terms of like the digital forensic stuff that I haven't come across, of which I thought yeah, it's a bit tricky. But then I just about barely passed it, of which I thought that was quite challenging because I've never come across a lot of digital DeFi content or any person that's within the digital forensics realm that obviously does that for me to be able to like, okay, can I pick your brains about something about the digital forensics labs was the one that really humbled me a little bit, to be fair. So yeah.
Nice, nice. And then can you shed some light into what the actual exam is like?
Yeah or no, because obviously the exam in itself, right, obviously there's some NDAs, whatever. I'm gonna say I've already passed to whatever, they won't know it's me. But basically what the exam is it just pretty much covers the whole five domains, right? And it pretty much it gives you a score at the end and just tells you like, listen, at the end of the day, like, it's like, okay, what based on such and such, how would you go about what's the word? I'm trying to. You put me on the spot here. I'm trying to think now.
But is it like multiple choice or is it like open-ended questions?
Some are like multiple choice, right? And then there's some that just like require you to like you have like a lab scenario, and then you're given like a publishing you're given like a sandbox environment, like a publishing environment where you select this, and then right, okay, based on such and such, there's been an email that's been Lucy from HR received this, compromise, whatever. Look at the send, the sender's header, what's the IP address. So you'll be given a scenario based, so it's full on hands on. So you're literally going into there and you literally sort of, yeah. And
but is it simulated at all where you have where you're in an environment and you're clicking around doing things?
Yeah, I think it's both. Yeah, it's simulated and you have to click into environments, and then it's also got some labs where you have to like input your actual you know what I mean, do your typing. Not a lot of typing, to be fair, but for instance they'll say, okay, what's the particular IP address? So then obviously you open up they have their own notepad in there, you punch in the particular IP address, and then obviously from there you're literally investigating like a whole email, like you're looking at the headers, the SMTP sender that send that particular email, the timestamp of that. So it's proper like full on hands on. You know, like some practical, like let's say when I've done the competency in the past, it's literally multiple choice. I think there's like 50 or 70 questions, and then if you're lucky, you pass, you pass. If not, it is what it is. But it was quite, you know, I literally got 95%. I think I only got maybe one question wrong or something. So that in itself just explains, you know, like it's full on, literally hands on, you know, hands on type of thing. So yeah.
I like that. And let's pivot over to now. Okay, you get that blue team level 1. You got that on your resume. When it comes to like being job ready, because of the different tooling that you're exposed to, because of the hands-on experience and the testing piece of it, you're pretty much job ready for your an entry level stock analyst.
Absolutely. Most CISOs I've spoken to, well, I'm speaking from where I'm from, so I can't speak about any other demographic in other parts of the world. But even some of the these Cyber Defender, BTL level 1, Try Hack Me, and so on and so forth, those rooms, they you know, hiring managers and obviously some organizations and some, you know, some job boards like Indeed and whatever you want to think of, right? They value that as hands-on exposure due to the fact that, you know, they know that cybersecurity in itself is not, or being a SOC analyst is not an entry level. People say yes, you become a SOC and then obviously do GRC, but then it's like you're going into the job separating yourself from the other 90% who are not job ready because they have not had the hands-on, you know, exposure on how or what it's like in a day in the life to be a SOC analyst. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So if you can give yourself the edge to be in a position to say like, right, okay, I've got my hands-on exposure, but I don't have my certification. From a HR perspective, when it comes to HR filtering, right, I get what a couple of people have been saying in the comments where they say, right, okay, if I get a security plus and the network plus, I'm cyber ready. Trust me, you will be humbled, because eventually, when it's time to like investigate logs and be in a position to where like, okay, you're now having to like summarize an incident and obviously document everything. All CompTIA Security Plus told you is how to pass an exam and how, because obviously, yes, I do appreciate that, yes, it's a gender neutral sort of accreditation and everything else, and it's highly recognized around the world. But then at the same time, when you get in the real working world, it's the hands-on that keeps you in the job. It's the security plus that lands you the role. I mean, that will get you in the position of obviously landing the role. Yes, I totally get it. But then when you're being interviewed by a CISO or a SOC lead or someone who you're going to be working with, and they turn around and say, well, you said that you know how to triage an alert. So can you tell me the difference between a false positive and a false negative? How can you correlate the two? And then now you start scratching your head, like thinking like you're lost. So I've been in them positions. So I'd rather like tell you how it is, because when you do that interview, you only have one shot to get it right. And where I'm from in Europe, right, that is when I've been to like a couple of events, like I said, InfoSec, I've got managers that give me constructive feedback every so often and every time, and that is what they've said. Look, we just do not have the time and the money to train anybody, because at the end of the day, I can tell you now, from a HR perspective, yes, it looks great that you've got that. Oh, have you got security plus? Yes, that's great. But the thing is, the threat vectors and the threat actors are changing on a day-to-day basis, and kid you not, security plus is not going to save you.
Gotcha. Let's go back to the prep for the exam. What were some resources that you leveraged during the preparation prior to taking the exam? Was it a certain website? Was it a certain YouTube playlist? Was it a certain specific lab? Can you share more about that?
Yeah, so they oh gosh, I was in a school community called Empirical Training. I met these guys at a conference, whatever. I think they're on whatever on this platform, but we obviously went our separate ways, whatever, because I just thought I was in getting my value for money on the basis of what I was learning, because I just wanted hands-on experience. And then prior from that, I use online resources. So I don't know if any of you know who Josh Madakor is, right? But he's got something called a Cyber Range. Now, see, with Josh Madakor, right? I fully respect what he's doing, because he's got he's created a platform that's a cyber range where it literally allows people to literally demonstrate hands-on exposure to what it's like. Just hold a woman.
Good. Yeah, all good. Take your time. Everyone, welcome in, welcome in. We are talking about the Blue Team Level 1 certification. We have a special guest in the building. We have Tech Dens. Dens chatting with us, talking with us, ready to answer any questions. Drop them in the chat. We'll try to bring those into the fold. But if you can come request up and come off mute, that will give you instant access to ask your questions, maybe even talk about your experience related to this certification.
With Josh Madako, right? When I jumped onto the cyber range, I thought, you know what? I know some basics, IT fundamentals and slash SOC, whatever. So eventually, his environment allows you to like be in like a working live environment with live, threat vectors that are sort of happening, presently. So eventually, right, he within his platform there was obviously teaching about vulnerability management using Tenable.io and how you go about remediating those vulnerabilities and how to document things properly as you would in as what as a vulnerability management analyst would do, and what a threat hunter would do in that sort of live environment. So when that gave me that sort of exposure, I started documenting everything. I said, hang on a minute, so this is where the skill gap was missing with what I was lacking. So once I realized that, and I was like, right, okay, let me start documenting. So every sort of lab that I've done, or every sort of exam that I've done and seen where I failed, or what sort of mentorship that I've had in the past, I thought, yes, because my pathway may work for myself or may work for whatever, the results may speak for themselves, but that doesn't mean that path will also work for somebody else. And that's what I'm always a massive advocate for. It's like you have to hold yourself responsible and be in a position to like, right, if you're more of an audio learner that sits on YouTube watching videos all day, by all means, mate, go about your business, do it. If you're a person that prefers to be taught by somebody or be, nurtured and nursed and like, okay, this is how things work, this is whatever, everybody learns differently. And you gotta find how you retain information. Some people can do one exam and still do one lab and they'll still remember everything. Some people have to simultaneously carry on learning. So the way I went about that is I thought, join the cyber range. Let me find a mentor who's gonna hold me accountable and hold myself accountable to like, right, okay, this is my timeline of how much I've got for me to get where I need to be. And this is how much I'm willing to put in. If I'm willing to put in sacrificing, let's say, 5 weekends in a row or the whole month of, let's say, January or December, whatever, and do absolutely nothing, that's how much accountability I took upon myself to say, you know what, this is what I need to do. And there's quite a lot of there's some really good, obviously good content out there for some people that if you're into GRC, for example, I'll give an example. If you're into GRC, the one person who I really like, what's his name, Unix guy, I think most people know him. He's massive advocate for GRC. He knows his stuff. I've tried some of his content that works really fine. I'm advocate for that. There's a few other guys that the people that I know. There's this gentleman by the name of Sean Mitchell. He's on LinkedIn, like one of the biggest MSPs in the whole of Europe. He's also got his own mentorship that he coaches people. And like the thing is, he's been there, done it. He's worked his way up to what it's like to be a SOC. And then when I'm engaging in all these serious conversations with all these people and like all these creators or content creators that have got valuable knowledge of what it actually takes to be there, as opposed to pay a boot camp for like 5 or 10 grand or 15 grand. I know people that have been a boot camp and then like, oh, you gotta just do your come to your CYA, whatever. But then I'm like, when it's time to be job ready, that doesn't guarantee you a job. Because if I'm gonna spend anything over £1,000 or $1,000, I would expect you to have a job guarantee at the end of it, and that's not the case. So that's why you have to be in a position where like, okay, is my source of information coming from a very credible place where I know that this person is verified? Okay, no problem, sweet. Let's say, for instance, Nate, you've got a couple of people that want to jump on your mentorship and they want to do whatever. I said, I want you to mentor me. That's fine, because then, you know what? Your credentials speak for themselves. Like, obviously, some of these companies that sell these products, they're just a sales pitch to the people that don't know the whys, if that makes sense. Do you understand what I mean? Because everybody's trying to make a bit of money here and there, trying to, score and do whatever. So The people that have, helped me along the path has been Josh Madakor and a few other personal mentors that have helped me mentor, like obviously be in a position like, okay, yes, is my LinkedIn optimized to, attract soccer roles or cyber roles, because your CV may look great, but then your online presence doesn't exist. So then how do recruiters find you? Are you networking? Are you speaking to the right people? Okay, if I'm trying to obviously get roles over in the States or whatever, the resume that I have got here in the UK will be slightly different to the resume that will be useful in whatever. So I'm not trying to undermine that, the Security Plus doesn't have its purpose. Yes, it does, to pass HR filters, but then once you cross that bridge, they want you to be able to demonstrate that you know what you know and what you say you know on paper. Because anybody can craft up a good paperwork, but then it's like, can you deliver? Absolutely not. And that's where people get cooked. And people say, oh, cybersecurity is not, I've not had a role. I've passed my Security Plus now. I want to earn 6 figures. All these like fake content creators, I'm not a massive fan, because it's like you do actually have genuine people that want to want to be part of, this amazing industry, of which is great, and this goes rewards, this goes great financial rewards and everything. But you have to hold yourself accountable on many avenues, and like have strategy as well. You gotta be in a position where like you've got strategy of what you're doing. You just can't be sending endless applications without having a proper strategy. Like, right, okay, if all those strategies that I'm doing, or those methods I'm sort of, the approach I'm going about doing what I'm doing, do not work, it serves no purpose, because you're literally wasting time, you see.
That's fire. Everyone, we're going to hang out for another maybe 20 minutes if Tech Dens can allow for it. We'll allow for it.
Yeah,
sure. You've been going all day, man. I appreciate you dropping some nuggets and hitting multiple topics within a stream of thoughts. That's important. Folks, if you want to come up, ask questions, feel free, drop it in the chat. Let's talk about, while we get some folks up here, let's talk about because for the folks that are just next level, okay, BTL1, I'm thinking BTL2. What's the difference between the two? What's the next caliber of things that you get into once you start looking at the BTL2?
Yeah, sure. So basically, what the I can't even bloody get my words out. So basically, is pretty much an advanced security operations accreditation or certificate, as you'd like to call it. And I think, as far as it covers 4 domains, of which are you got malware analysis, threat hunting, and advanced SIM, and vulnerability management. Now, in terms of obviously the it's quite costly. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's about needed to, I think, $2,000 if I'm not mistaken. Now, from what I've gathered, whilst I've been doing the labs here and there one of other time, it cost, it says you can complete it within 2 months, right? And then on top of that, right, is when I'm just looking at the when you look at the the cost content, it pretty much summarizes to say you need a minimum of like 2 years, you've 2 years experience or more for you to be able to take it. But then I'm not saying it's impossible, just like it would be for anybody who's able to do the CISP, like the CISP. Now, for me personally, I think it's for like, people that, like, let's say if you're a mid, senior security analyst, or mid incident responder, or maybe somebody like a specialist, like a DEFA specialist, or like an advanced malware analyst or whatever. So for anybody who's been within the field for like a number of years. So I wouldn't recommend you burning your whole $2,000 or $2,500, because obviously it's in pounds. So I would expect it to be about, let's say, 2.5K US dollars or whatever. So that's what that entails. And if it's something you want to sort of go into and advance your career, absolutely. But technically, I wouldn't recommend it, because once you flop that exam, you have to pay the whole shebang again. And technically, I wouldn't really be in a position to advise anybody that, yeah, go do the BTL1. But then if you've got the financial backing to do that, by all means, go ahead.
That's good. Good insights, solid knowledge. So I mean, there's freebie options out there for folks to get their hands dirty.
Yeah.
But if you want to invest in yourself, I always say the proof is in the pudding. Go take that this certification name that's on the screen, pop it into LinkedIn, and see what roles come up. Look at what jobs come up. You won't see a huge list like Security Plus, but you will find some folks that actually are seeking this specific roles certification.
And the other thing I was also going to add, because I do feel like I've talked about certs that actually cost money or worth money, but you've got Try Hack Me, right? These are like training platforms, for SOC analysts, right? So you can pretty much practice investigation in a realistic scenario, right? Build employability skills that an employer would care about, and obviously you can also learn at your own pace, right? So you've got Try Hack Me, you've got Hack the Box, you've got Blue Team Labs. Obviously you can do the labs only without actually paying for it, if that makes sense. And then you can also do the cyber defenders as well. That is pretty good. And then obviously you can, I don't know if a lot of people are not aware of this, but there's some, it's called KC7cyber.com. So KC7cyber.com. Now, I've only just recently, I discovered this actually in December, and I've been trying to practice my KQL and practice, my Sentinel a bit more and that type of stuff, and, just reframe myself. So it literally gives you I wouldn't say hands-on, but like, some of the skills and like hands-on little mini skills that are required to actually do day-to-day tasks as an analyst. Do you understand what I mean? So yeah, those are the freebies that I would recommend. But then obviously, and the other thing is like, some of the common mistakes I've done, and I would not recommend to anybody, is like, just don't jump to the hard challenges too soon. Learn the basic simple one, like Sherlock on what do you call this, on Try Hack Me. That's a good room as well. I think there's also Sherlock on Hack the Box as well. So start off with the easy rooms, and then gradually, when you begin to get the security concepts behind them, then yeah, great. That's you're onto a good start. And then obviously, don't just complete the challenge. Document them. Like, every challenge should be written, and write up a scenario, the tools that you used, what did you learn from it, and then obviously that also becomes a portfolio. If you go do write-ups as well. Do post them up on GitHub or post them up on LinkedIn. That way, when you post, I don't know how the algorithm on LinkedIn works, because I'm not a LinkedIn specialist, right? But I will see somebody's post that somebody did 3-4 weeks ago or whatever, and then the next day I'll see another post that they posted the other day. So I'm just like, hang on a minute. I'll simultaneously LinkedIn. So depending on the connections that you have, you gradually see somebody, now, okay, this person is on a career path of what they're currently doing, type of thing. So yeah, that's another thing I would recommend you see.
Yeah, I like that you keep mentioning LinkedIn, because it is powerful, and I would say the most friendly algorithm out to date. All the others, TikTok, YouTube, them boys is tough. So let me say what's up to a few people. I saw Cyber N pop in. He'll be a future guest. I saw Mimi come in. Welcome in, Mimi. Thank you so much. If you're not here, thank you so much for the introduction to Tech Dens. I appreciate that. Tech Dens, special guest for this afternoon, everyone. He's in the UK. He's answering questions. He has the BTL1, answering questions about what this cert is, and can share insights. And if you have questions, feel free to come up. If you can also drop them in the chat too.
Yeah, if anybody's got any questions they want to grill me on, I'm more than happy to take criticism, because I'm open for criticism. I'd rather you criticize me, to be fair.
So let me go ahead and poke at it a little bit. Where are you? What's next for you? What's the 5-year roadmap coming up for you?
5-year roadmap is to stay alive, to be honest, because how can you plan without you being alive? To be honest, healthy, to be fair. Career-wise, I'm looking to tap. There's quite a lot of projects I'm sort of working on at the minute, international projects at the minute. I want to diversify myself in a couple of international markets, of which obviously we'll discuss that off camera or whatever. That's one thing. And I think to network more, because I've been invited to come to Afrotech event, the one that you guys have over the States, right, 3 times in a row, and I've not been, right? And I've had some key players that have invited me to like literally come there and, get somebody from abroad and do whatever. But it's something that I'm obviously trying to get out there a bit more, because Sham keeps screaming at me. I don't know if he's listening to this, he'll probably be laughing. And he literally turned around and mentioned that, Dan, you need to, your exposure and your experience will will be insightful to some people that you may think is deemed unnecessary or relevant, but that's the long term plan. And eventually, it's just to help as many people as I can, really, because I do know that some people that are caught up in a catch-22 where things are a bit they don't know what direction to take. They don't know what accreditation to take. Is it? Do I need to do the every single? Do I need to do the CompTIA trifactor? Absolutely not. I just think it's a bag of nonsense. Don't do it. My personal my preference anyway. Your hands on, like, learn your basics, learn your fundamentals, because your fundamentals will keep you in the job longer than that certification. I can guarantee you that for a fact. If you can talk about it, you can talk, because the man of GitHub repos that I've seen of people where they've documented what they've done, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize you can do that. And then eventually I end up using that in my day-to-day function, in my day-to-day work. Obviously I'm not going to put whatever somebody has put into that and just go about that. So, and I will say just to network with as many people as I can. Obviously genuine people, not just anybody, because there's some bad actors out there. But I think that's one of the long-term plans. And just carry on learning, and just carry on learning, because the learning never stops in tech and in cyber, because attacks do change on a day-to-day basis, and by all means, it's literally, my DMs are open to anybody. So if you're like, I think I jumped on Mimi's, me and Mimi, we've been discussing off camera and whatever, but I've come on a few lives. There were a few people that were asking about some of the stuff that I do, and then we spoke, and I've had a few people asking, okay, can you help me get into this and help me get into that? I said, yeah, I can do, but then it's like there's still the misconception where I've had inquiries where people say, okay, I want to get into GRC and become a cyber analyst. Those are two different things. You can't be an analyst and be writing policies on how to, you need to know what you're defending before you get defending, if that makes sense. So I think there's still more education that needs to be out there, and obviously the right obviously, like, it's our due responsibility as content creators, not these paid people that pay for promotions and whatever, put the right content out there, because I think they don't understand. I don't think people understand how tedious and how tiring it is, right, to literally be up to scratch with what we do, and the unseen hours and the dedication, the time and the effort. Some people they got families, they got partners, they've got people that look after, and so on and so forth. So there is life outside that. So some people, that's the question some people ask. Some people said, is this really the path that you want to go, or you only just seen somebody on TikTok saying, oh, I want Security Plus and I want 600K. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. The money is there, but I'm sorry, Security Plus is not going to do that. It's really not. So anybody who's chatting rubbish and showing the Lambos and being in first class flights, it doesn't work like that. I'm sorry. I'll argue anybody any time of the day. That ain't happening. So yeah,
it's definitely a combo effort of multiple and layers of things that folks are doing, from skilling up to networking to putting their best foot forward to just having conversations with folks and being vulnerable. Sometimes you need to be vulnerable, humble self, have that willingness to learn, and the learning never stops. You have to be eager to learn out there, and then you have to package it all up. And when it's time to show up and it's game day. Yesterday we were on a live, and Cloud Tech exec was let us hear how he interfaces with folks in the interview, and it was very enlightening to see another approach, another perspective to tackling interviews, because that's you got to get past the interview, you got to get past HR, and what information do you allow come out, what information do you keep, how do you show brevity, how do you make your points concise and clear and articulate your thoughts. So a lot of gems you're dropping, bro, and I really appreciate it. Everyone, we got about 10 more minutes. We're gonna skate on out of here.
No, it's all good. But and the other thing I was just gonna add on before I think I forget, and I think the most important thing is you have to be teachable, because I think the more arrogant you are within that industry, the industry will spit you back the quicker than you came into that industry, and you have to be in a position where you can always learn something from somebody, because sometimes when we've got our technical hats on, or we've got our GRC hat on, or cloud tech or cloud ops or whatever, we're too technical. But then sometimes when you look at logic thinking on the basis of how you can understand, what somebody's trying to, emphasize and articulate themselves. You have to like switch off the heart a little bit, and obviously be able to ask too, like obviously like Mimi just mentioned as well. Be able to ask. Do you not be afraid to ask? Believe me or not, I think was it last week or maybe the beginning of end of last week or whatever. A chief CISO that works for whatever in the States or over there put sensitive information to ChatGPT. Now, if you and I did that, right, you'll be shown the door, because like, it's literally probably unethical, right? But that just goes to show that, what, sometimes just because people are in a higher position doesn't mean that they understand good cyber hygiene. And to be able to actually put a sensitive government document into an LLM and tell it to, oh, can you give you a prompt, and then expect you to give you something, to me, that's absolutely diabolical. So yeah, yes, just ask. If you don't know what you're doing, ask. Just ask and be teachable. So yeah, I'll answer any questions if anyone wants to jump on and ask me whatever.
Yeah, bro. And so I know you shared some stories a little bit about like how you broke in and kind of like the beginnings, but have you always lived in the UK, or what some of that background look like?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So I've been in the UK way too long, to be fair, but I'm not going to give too many specifics. But prior, before coming here, obviously people can hear my accent. It sounds a bit, whatever. But originally I'm like African by origin, and did come here when I was, I think, 10 or 11. So obviously having to make a transition, having to learn a new way of life, new way of living, new way of learning, the education system, everything. So when you come from a family of an immigrant, and you have that imposter syndrome, like, okay, are people gonna be able to pronounce my name? Or I'm in a, okay, when you go to events, and when I've gone to events or whatever, they look, you have that imposter syndrome, like, oh, I'm the only ethnic person here. And then it's like, oh, where's the other ethnic people? Then when I was putting the hours in, and I'm not saying I am where I need to be, but then all my mates were out there partying, turning up and doing whatever. Now, when I look at them now, it's like, I'm not saying my life is turned out for the best, but yeah, they're not really laughing now, are they? But it just goes to show, like I said, the sacrifice and, the imposter syndrome that everybody gets. And like I said, it is normal for you to go through that. Like, okay, I've got my security plus, I come, this is where my background's from, or maybe I come from such and such. But all that bureaucracy, eventually, it just fades out. And, you just gotta, like I said, have the right people around you. If people believe in your craft and believe in your talent, that imposter syndrome gradually just dissipates, and, things just flourish. Like I said, just hold yourself accountable, be teachable, and just ask questions, and just network with the right people that are on the same floor, same vibe as you're on. And then, the rest is hard work, and everything will flourish. And like, what's meant for you won't go by you. And I'm a big believer in that.
I like that, bro. I'm a huge believer in that as well. And especially in scenes like where we're in right now, this platform and this specific live stream and other live streams that are out there, putting yourself out there, asking those questions. That's how we're going to bridge the gap between the folks who are trying to break in, the folks who are just getting their feet wet, that are emerging in the space, and to people who are established. And established is a mindset. Like, you don't have to, just because you're 19 and you have your CCIE doesn't mean you're not established. Like, you're established if you got your CCIE, especially as we're talking about networking. So, depending on what room you're in, and depending on what you have going on, you could be established because you trendset it and landed that first role, and now you can help bring folks in and share insights on how to break into a SOC analyst type of role.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just answer Mimi's question before we run out of time, because we've got 5 minutes. What did she say? When you started, did you look forward to seeing a black person on the team? Yeah and no. I've had some good and bad experiences, Mimi, to be honest with you. I've been in a position where, like, obviously I'm from an ethnic background. I'm like, yeah, one of my people's, yeah, blah, 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 whatever. And kid you know, whenever I've gone to ask for help, they have, a lot of people do gatekeep a lot of information. And I'm thinking, bro, what's going on here? Like, we're meant to be on the same team here, like, whatever. And then you tend to find that, like, when somebody sees fierce competition, not fierce competition, but like, they want to help you, but then there is that jealous and envy. Like I want him to like do good, but not better than me type of thing. And it does happen a lot. And when you get in those corporate environments, just like each dog for their own, and he just not trying to sound in a very biased or racist way, but some of the people that put me in positions of power, positions of trust, have not been my own, and that's just from my own experience. And there's some that have done, but then it's come from a place of like, and I had I had it recently actually. It was this time last year, right? I applied for this role. This guy that I know, I mentored him, whatever. He thought he could be smart, right? Applied for a role, and he was quite junior than I am anyway. He applied for the role. He got the role, loving life, you know, enjoying whatever. Then eventually, he ended up being sacked from the role because he just didn't know what he was doing. And then when he posted up on his LinkedIn, like, oh, I've been like, God, this, that, I said, well, this is the karma. You just don't go about and just pissing on people and just doing stuff like that. It's literally not. And, you know, sometimes you find like, you know, your very own are the enemies of your progress. You understand what I mean? You're thinking, why are things not flourishing? Oh, don't hire Net because, yeah, he's whatever. Because just because, yeah, you've had issues in the past, or maybe, you know, you're flourishing and you've got, you know, your AZ900 or you got your SC200. Oh, he thinks is that, you know, he thinks is whatever. But trust me, the enemy is the enemy from within. So you just gotta know what's in your circle and just carry on and just support who supports you. And like I said, what's meant to be for you won't go by you. So and just get busy and yeah.
I think that's fire, bro. I think we can land it there, and I'll share one thing about you were just talking about. In fact, I just posted an event that's happening this Thursday, Blacks in Cybersecurity. My experience, I too started roles, and I was the only one that looked like me. And even in school, only one that looked like me, and it's always been that way for me. And I've always, anytime that folks try to reach out and get some help, I've always been the guy to lean in and share some knowledge and give my insights. But there's still a gap. There's a big gap out there, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it this Thursday. So thank you, bro. Thank you for coming through. I know the time is getting later there, and you're starting to think about winding down your day. So we're gonna get you out of here, bro.
No, all good, bro. I'm just gonna hit the gym and just call it a day. But not any time, you know, like I said, anything I can sort of, you know, obviously this won't be the last either, because I'll definitely jump on your live, because I've only just touched about 2% of what I was gonna discuss, but an hour's not enough, and I'm gonna have to do where I literally just break down anything and you just be an open platform. I'll have yourself, or have Mimi there, and then we'll just talk about whatever, and then. Yeah, and then just get into the nitty gritty, because some of the stuff that, obviously there's some stuff that I can't really say online, but I think it will be also beneficial to some people that may have a different objective to, like, okay, why is life to work in being tech, or the downsides to it. I mean, obviously it's got its pros and its cons. Obviously there are some dark sides that come to what we do and what I do, whatever. So it's not just, you know, sunshine and rainbows and, you know, tequila, being on the beach and catching flights and all that. It's really not. I can promise you that. So,
right. We do want to hear about it. I saw someone asked earlier about it, but we'll break it down. We'll share some more insights at another time. So I look forward to whatever you got going on, bro. I want to be a part of and grow. In July, I gotta catch you in July.
Don't worry, listen, don't worry about that. We're going. Just get yourself in Europe, bro. The rest is history.
Bet that up. Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining. Have a great rest of your afternoon, evening, whatever time it is for you, and we'll see you next time.
All right, peace, bro. Thank you.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you.